All right, welcome everyone to our the Modern Occultist Podcast. I am your host Diana Serhal, also one of the founders of Modern Occultist, and today I'm going to be talking with Melissa Love. Thank you, Melissa, for accepting our invitation.
Of course.
Now, Melissa Love is a professional hedge witch who lives in the Netherlands in Amsterdam. She is certified in Jungian shadow work as a clinical herbalist and massage therapist. She is also familiar with Reiki and Celtic spirituality in Ireland. She has been practicing and teaching traditional hedge witchcraft for almost 30 years with a family history. Her main focus is acting as a bridge between the here and there. She also contributed to Modern Occultist's Occult Reads section with an original review of the book Shadow Magic Spellbook, Spells, Charms, and Rituals for Positive Change by Raven Digitalis, published by our partner Llewellyn Worldwide. You will be able to read her review of this book on the Modern Occultist News website. So, my first question for you, Melissa, is what exactly is a hedge witch? What is hedge witchcraft and what makes it different from other witchcraft or magical traditions?
That's a fair question. We don't really have a dictionary, as in, we have so many terms flying around, and every time you talk to somebody, they'll have a different definition of it. It's kind of confusing, which is really sad. Somebody needs to write a dictionary. Well, your readers probably have the witch part down. I'm assuming, so we don't have to go through that, but it's the hedge part that is a little bit different. Um, I think the hedge part is the whole jumping across. Yeah, it's like most witches, we all have the same purpose, our same drive. We want to affect change, right? And many witches, they invoke and they evoke and they bring things here. But hedge witches, we go over there. That's the difference. So we visit them on their turf, in their space, rather than bringing them here or channeling. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, that would be probably that would be the main difference. And as you mentioned, the craft is mostly managing that jump, being able to have the protection needed. It's a bit different when we're in their territory. So having the right wording and, making sure that we all have all the pieces brought back. I
Now,
think
I
would be,
understand.
yeah.
Yes, and this is very interesting. Could you then elaborate that on when you said we are the ones who visit them, we manage that jump and such. So how do you do that?
It is a bit of a journey. Uh, Maybe I should just describe the process. Maybe that would work best.
Sure.
So I have a broom I take with me because I am a walking stereotype.
You said it.
I am. It's just the way it was. I used to fight against that, but now I'm just whatever. I don't care anymore. So yeah, we I have a broom. I take it with me, and I have usually a cup of tea because I always have a cup of tea, but I have a cup of tea with specific things in it, usually. Um, and or light some incense, set up the ritual space, I suppose. And as you do, it starts usually with a bit of meditation, calming the breath down, bringing the heart rate down, making sure you go straight into trance. And it starts with visualization a bit, and then it shifts, and you can feel the shift. And all of a sudden, you can't control the other things that are around.
That sounds like a very intense experience. Yes.
Yeah, you never really get used to it. I do it constantly, and then I still every single time it's just this. Oh, 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 there it goes.
Mm. And then you deliver the message back when you're back in this world.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a message, I mean, we go through. One thing to mention is that many hedge witches do things differently. I know another hedge witch who is a dream walker, and that is how they cross to the hedge. So there's many different ways. Oh, and sometimes it's through trance dancing. Yeah, there's many different techniques. The whole point, the one thing that I've noticed most of us have in common is that it's a trance first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Now that we talked a bit about that, could you please tell us what is Earth magic and why do you think humanity has become disconnected from it and how could we reconnect with the Earth or Earth magic?
God, you remember when Scott Cunningham first put out this one of his first books? It was called like Earth Magic. Oh
Okay.
man, that was like a long time ago. I loved that book. There's many different ways. I guess it would be just connecting with the earth element would be a good definition of earth. That's mine anyway. And I'm not talking about like herbalism or things like that. Not even spirit work, really. I think it would be its stability. Its stability, and that's the reason why we've felt so disconnected recently, because we've all forgotten how to rest. We're stuck in this fiery, moving, always be productive base that's been going on like that for so long. And we've forgotten that there's only so much the roots can pull out of our soil unless it's depleted, you know? But we keep trying to grow and grow and grow without worrying about shedding those leaves and creating that compost that we really need for the next minerals to come through. That we've kind of started to run out of those, I think. And it's a bit of a mirror of the planet and everything, isn't it? As above, so below, I guess.
Now, similarly, my next question is a bit connected. Plants usually play some kind of a role in witchcraft or magic in general. As a herbalist, what do you think, what power do plants hold? Also, how do you use plants and what kind of plants in your craft? You don't have to
Oh,
go through
goodness.
all of them. You can
Oh,
just give
goodness.
me a few examples.
No, that's an excellent question. I think of them as a kind of like our siblings. They're our partners in spirituality, the siblings of Mother Earth, I suppose. And we've evolved with them and they've evolved with us. And they're on their own path, I feel. That's kind of how it feels like. So I feel that they're like, yeah, like an older sibling. They're protective of us, but we banter back and forth. Sometimes they play tricks. They really want to help us along, I feel like. I don't feel very disconnected from them. They're very much family. I feel like they mirror our patterns a lot. Yeah, so we can learn so much about ourselves through looking at their patterns. And they speak their own language, and we've started to listen to it. We call it, planetary correspondences or humoral behaviors. And I feel like they can really help us along in the whole process of our evolution.
And can you give a few examples, like what plants do you usually use in your craft and why? What do they mean? And you can give me 100 examples or just two examples. It's up to you.
I work a lot with the spirits of the plants themselves. So when I jump over, well, when I hop over, I go and talk to them. In our in my herbalist practice specifically, um, there are a ton of reasons of why I would jump over and go have a chat. If I'm thinking of two specific herbs for a client, okay, and they're trying to get in touch with their creativity, for example. They lost it and they're trying to get it back. That's the kind of thing people come to me for. That one has been popping up a lot, oddly enough. But I'll have, okay, well, it could be either one of these, and I'll hop over, and one of them will show up, and one of them won't. Or uh, for example, if I'm thinking of Damiana, because that's very creative herb. She's amazing. And very helpful with creativity. But passion flower might pop up and be like, remember they also had insomnia in their chart. And I'll be like, this is a good point. And then we'll go with passion flower. So yeah, I mean, that's one of them, for example.
Many beginners are excited to work with herbs, but they often don't know where to begin. If someone only learned 3 magical plants, which would you recommend and why?
This is fantastic because when I first started as an herbalist, I was lost. But I mean, it's easy for me to spout out my absolute oh, favorite, irreplaceable allies that have just been with me probably since the beginning. And I have very few of those. But I mean, I still have to work with a lot of separate herbs because clients are different. So like things that won't vibe with me might actually vibe with somebody else. But if I were to narrow it down to 3, it would be more of categories, I think. So it would be like the first one, like for example, the first one, what do you love? Which one has been drawing to you? Which one do you constantly think about? Which one pops up and you just like notice it everywhere? Which one have you been like, oh yeah, I really love that flower? You know, if you could have no reason at all, that one. You're drawn to that for a very specific reason. And that would be my first one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like everybody is going to have a different one. But that's the one of them that you should work with first. Yeah, you'll find that there is definitely a reason that you were drawn to them. So that would be my first one, your favorite. And then the next one would be what's around you right now? Like what is growing outside of your house in the cracks? What is in your yard? What is around? These ones you probably haven't even noticed. You've just walked by them forever and haven't even realized they're there. Get a good identification book. You need 3 sources. That's like my main, gotta have 3. So you know what you're doing. Go out and look at what's going on. There's a reason why they also grow near you. Plants grow where they're needed. That would be my second. And the third one, what do you absolutely despise? What is the one that you're like, no, this one is stupid. I hate it. I fought Rose forever. Hated Rose. I really did. Your thing that you don't like is going to teach. That's your shadow. That is your one that you are fighting. That would be my third one. You'll hate it at first. You'll absolutely hate working with it, but you'll realize exactly why you don't like it when you research it.
Oh, interesting. Thank you. You just mentioned that one should have minimum like 3 sources. Can
Yeah.
you actually mention some books about this subject, like plants herbalism or earth magic, that you found like really, really useful, either when you just began this practice, or like if somebody's interested, do you have any book recommendations, or maybe, I don't know, documentary recommendations or anything?
First of all, just a good foraging book, one for your area, one that's written specifically for your space. Um, so highly recommend that. Just really good foraging book for your area. And then Backyard Medicine Makers, the Medicine Maker's Handbook by Green. Fantastic first resource for somebody trying to get into herbalism, but also plant spirit work at the same time. It's not a dry book. It's a journey through that one. So yeah, the Medicine Maker's Handbook by Green is phenomenal.
Now, many people today struggle with anxiety, burnout, and feeling disconnected. Are there simple earth-based practices that anyone can incorporate into their daily lives, even if they don't even maybe consider themselves witches?
Those are the same paths. They're just different phases of it. We've got feeling disconnected leads to anxiety, leads to burnout. So we've got the same path, but different phases. So I'm going to break it down between the three and have, the different, So the first one that would be most, it actually is the most work, would be the disconnected part, because you can't do as much work with the other two because it's farther along. That one is because, oh my gosh, we're all so lonely, because social media and everything have made us in this pretend community that is kind of there, but not really. Like, you can't ask Kenneth from Dublin to go pick up your kid in Illinois. Like there's no, you can't really, there's no actual community, which is really sad. But that's just how it is. I've moved around a lot. I lived in Ireland and I've moved around a lot. It's like every 2 years, I kid you not. I have to start over every single time, and it's a disconnect every single time. And when I first moved to the Netherlands, it was rough because there wasn't even the language. So it's just, but to fix that, you have to start making those connections with the people around you. So if you're feeling really disconnected and you're not in the anxiety or burnout stage, it's just like the beginning stages. You start chatting with people. This is an introvert's nightmare, to be fair. But you do. It's the only way you're going to do it too, which is very sad and very awkward. The cashiers at the grocery store, the mailman, get to know your actual neighbors, which doesn't really happen anymore. Like the people who you're around the most, the stores you love, wherever you are, those are the people that you need to start chatting up and really form little relationships with, because that's your real community there. That's the one that you can lean on later. So whenever I move to a new place, I always find the witches. We're all used to being not the extroverts. We're used to being like closed out in our walls, especially us, because we're outcasts. It's part of the whole thing. I organize meetups and I organize D&D meets. I organize foraging walks, and it takes a lot of work. That's why it's only for the first stage. It takes a lot of work. And this phase is the perfect phase for spellcraft for that. Community spells, bringing people in, things that focus on finding your people like those kind of spell work is perfect for this meeting, but also on the other side, meeting those the local spirits, the Genius Loki, the spirits of the lake next door, the guardians of wherever's around you. There are spirits everywhere. They're all over all the time. And you start paying attention to those and forming the same kind of relationships, yeah, you can start leaning on them later too.
How would someone who's never done this before form relationship with such spirits?
But really, just if you're trying to, for example, if there's like a guardian of like a guardian tree, sit down, have a picnic under it, watch it, see how it shifts from season to season. Like, pay attention to it, draw it, sing to it. It'll start talking back.
Okay, thank you. Now, you've also studied Jungian shadow work. Could you please briefly explain to our audience who Carl Jung was and what is his shadow work about?
Carl Jung is, okay, so he's Gnostic. He's a Gnostic psychoanalyst. There's filters that we gotta like sift through to figure out his stuff. It is brilliant. The way that he combined mythology and clinical observations and Gnostic philosophy, because there's a lot of that in there too, is amazing. Like the way his brain works. He does, but there is obviously, he grew up Christian. His father was like a priest, I think, or a pastor. He was brought up with Christianity. He has those dualistic filters, and that is, you can tell in a lot of his shadow work teachings that there are filters that he's talking through. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what we do with Snorri Sturluson for the Poetic Edda. He's a Christian monk recording Norse mythology. So, I mean, there's that filter there. And once you see the filter and you're like, okay, I can take the filter off, then you can see the rest for how it is. I think personally, I feel like Jungian shadow work should be like that. So that said, shadow work, it's so he created this framework of meeting your most rejected self, your most despised, your most like ignored self. And this process has been talked about in European folklore for way longer before Jung brought it up. I mean, we used to call it the fetch in British ancestry. We called it the fetch. So it's been around for a while, but he coined that term shadow work and brought it to the public's attention, which was phenomenal because it made it easier for other psychoanalysts to be able to like dig in. So that was great. Definitely more accessible to many people, which was fantastic. When I think it was Gavin Fox who mentioned haunting yourself. And it's the same kind of thing. It's that spirit that, and his was more of a protective entity in his work. But yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's in lots of different traditions. Really, the main concept is talking to those pieces of you that's been completely rejected. And it can be something that was lost in childhood and like really told that it was wrong. Or it could be something that was told wrong later. But it doesn't even have to be negative per se. It could be confidence in yourself and what was labeled as selfishness. It has so many implications. It's really just paying attention to what you're feeling and where it's coming from.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I have an interesting question. So you have quite a broad knowledge and experience. So after everything you've learned from herbal medicine and Celtic spirituality to Jungian shadow work, everything, what do you think is the greatest lesson that was taught to you? And if what would be like one really important message or piece of wisdom that you would give our listeners?
I think it would have to be, yeah, and I keep learning it over and over and over in different ways. One of my biggest lessons was my accidental first jump, I think. I grew up in the Southwest in the high desert, surrounded by desert. I'm surrounded by coyotes and mountain lions and hawks and owls and all sorts of little things and big things. And it was a magical place that I definitely didn't appreciate while I was there because it was too sunny.
So you feel home in the Netherlands. That's not so sunny.
Oh, it's so much better.
Okay.
Although I really do miss a lot of the wildness that was there. You know, there's no wildness in the Netherlands. It's a Genius-Lokier, different, but interesting.
The desert that you just mentioned with the animals, just so that we're clear, which country are we referring to?
Oh, yes. I was raised in California in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was the Southwest desert. And surrounded by mountains. It was lovely. And so I would go in the middle of the night and walk up through the nature reserves there, which was not so smart at 13 years old, but you know, that's how we do things. And I would walk up and at this particular, yeah, and I would walk up and meditate and do things and do my stuff. And this particular time, though, I had gone up because I was going up to meditate and to dive a little bit more into automatic writing, which I was doing at that point. So I had my notebook with me and I was just trugging along. And I went and sat on the cliffside overlooking the lake there. And I was noticing this was dusk. It was right at twilight. So the hawks were there and they were just right at eye level, kiting and looking at the fields. And I started to meditate a bit. And this was definitely my first jump. I realized I was not in control anymore. It freaked me out. So Hawk showed up as a spirit, and he was showing me that I need to zoom out and I need to zoom back in. Because if I don't zoom out, I keep forgetting that there's the whole world out there. And I'm really not that important. The spirits are all doing their thing. They're not paying that much attention to me. I'm really not that important. So most of the time, it's your own things that is attacking you from your own self. And so, yeah, they just don't care. You're just not that important. But then you can't forget to zoom back in. Otherwise, you'll miss your lunch. But also being able to understand that just because you are not their whole world, when I had my child, I realized that I am their whole world. And it's this shift of perception on the bigness of everything, but also the tiniestness of all the things. And we need to shift in and out to be able to see the big picture. And that was probably my biggest lesson I had.
Yeah, and it's a really good lesson to share with others too. Thank you. Now, something interesting. Why do so many ancient cultures believe, as you also mentioned, like forests, crossroads, rivers, like these nature places, that the veil between worlds is thinner in these places?
Weakest point in a wall is the doorway, isn't it? That's kind of how that works. I think that's why we're drawn to them so much. We can feel the thinness of it because you really do. You walk through and it's different as long as you pay attention and you feel it in the crossroads as well. It's definitely easier to jump if I'm in a place like that. But yeah, those definitely are the thinner places, just practically. It's so much easier to jump over in those spaces, the tree line, the coastline, any of those. It just works.
Now, throughout history, hedge witches were often described as healers, midwives, or wise women. How much of that historical image reflects reality, and how much has been romanticized over time? What do you think?
So much of it has been written over and really just recorded by people who are completely biased. We really have no primary sources of anything about what happened. Um, I think our best places to find what actually was there is our fairy tales. Our fairy tales are gold when it comes to what what we did back in the day and what was there. And I mean, the witches are always on the edges of society. We're usually widows. We live alone. We're a bit outcasty. In all the fairy tales, it's the same. A bit around the gray in the morality specter. We have our own. We're a bit chaotic. But I mean, they're definitely I think the witch trials also around the world really give us hints as to how it was in reality. Like because they were the Catholic, the Abrahamic religions were prosecuting, and the things that they accused us of were the exact things they were trying to stamp out. So I feel that that is where we're going to find a lot of what was actually around, because if they wouldn't have feared it so much if it wasn't something they were trying to get rid of. You can see that in a lot of Irish folk tales, for example. They spent 6 years in Ireland studying all of that. You can see a lot of the hints because it was the conversion was so fast over there in that country. It was so quick, and so you didn't have the very gentle blending of things. It was more just like, here's things. And then the Catholic Church had to be like, okay, how the heck do we adapt this? You find a lot of like a lot of little hints and stuff in their fairy tales because so much of it survived.
Actually, could you please share the brief history and the main points of Celtic spirituality?
Yeah, that is a whole another thing. And exactly what I was referring to, the reason why it's so interesting is because it was so quick to convert. So we had a blending of things rather than a stamping out, which is really cool. The Celtics, well, the Celts going back, like they were a bunch of tribes. They had their own little thingies, and they were massive amounts of tribes. They all were. Some of them were farmers. Some of them had huge castles. Like they were different. So and there were quite a few writers who tried to, okay, so how similar are these people to each other, and what's like the main similarities that we can kind of go at here and record, I guess. So many of them had a like an animist view of life. They believed in the other world and the spiritual world that can be uh, brought in and out of this one. And they believed in an immortal soul. Those were like the three main points of like what most of the Celts believed. Um, and uh, but I think one of the coolest things that we really can't even fathom is how intertwined spirituality was with the practical matters of everyday living. It was not separate at all. And you can still see it to this day in Ireland, just chatting with the pagans there. And just, it's amazing. It's completely intertwined. There's just no separation at all, which is why a lot of their gods, they're not, are like human based. Like it's lore, and they're just not separate from them at all. It's just part of everything. Uh, so they talk about having the Fey blood passed down through this generation over here. It's like they can relive things that were in the past and they're just now. And it's so different from our way of life in the West, like in many cultures anyway. It's just totally different.
Now, my next question is actually one of my favorite ones because for the 2025 Valentine's Day, we posted a special piece on Modern Occultist News, so on our blog, about our friends Celia and Ben who had a pagan wedding. Now, Melissa here is actually the one who officiated that pagan wedding. So could you please talk about that? How a pagan wedding ceremony looks like? How is it different from a traditional wedding or a traditional officiation and such?
Oh, yeah. I've actually done quite a few pagan weddings. I was an officiant in California for a while, and I did a couple of officiations in Ireland as well. And because there's not many of us out there, most of the officiants are either very secular or they're Abrahamic. So there's just not a lot of us doing this kind of thing. Um, but yeah, and I used to do the celebration of life ceremonies and the naming ceremonies and all of that jazz. But the weddings are definitely my favorite, and that one was beautiful. Uh, it has to. One of the little nuances is that all of us, like in pagans and witches in general, we all have our own unique belief systems. So I had to dive into many different cultural, just spiritualities, really, because each one of them is different. And this one was the bride was a more Wiccan based, but not fully. And so we did a lot of, calling the watchtowers and making sure that we had the elements there, and we had the goddess and the god were invoked and brought down and invited, really. And we did set up a circle. It was lovely. It was at twilight in the in-betweens, as per protocol. With most of these things, that and I wouldn't really be able to do it in the daytime outside. And it was in a meadow with a young guardian oak that we did it under, surrounded by water mint next to a lake. Beautiful, beautiful space. And uh, yeah, it was very small, this one, but it was full of really deep meaning for both of them. And they had chosen a hand fasting to do. So we bound we bound them together.
Wonderful. Now, as we are approaching the end, I would like to ask, though, if you could correct one misconception about the craft that you're practicing, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. I got it. You ready? Oh my gosh, stop being so serious. I think we've kind of forgotten how to experiment and fail. That's kind of part of it. And nobody does all the things perfectly all the time. Okay. I go to another witch if I need more astrology stuff done. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm terrible at that. Now, if they need a plant spirit, I'm like, yes, grand, let's do it. If you don't like plants, don't worry about it. Do something else. Like, you don't have to do all the things, but it has to be fun. We forget that so much. And I think that's a big piece of it. We just forget that this is supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be so serious all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, as we have said at the beginning of the episode as well, you have written a review for Modern Occultist on the book, once again, Shadow Magic Spellbook, Spells, Charms, and Rituals for Positive Change by Raven Digitalis, published by Llewellyn. Could you please share your review with our listeners, not just with our readers as well?
That was a lovely book. It was full of information. It was fantastic. There were a few points that stuck out the most with that one. He did a fantastic job at going through all the various shadows and those aspects of shadows that I probably would have forgotten a few, but he had everything there. It was just perfectly laid out. It was really nice. And it felt like if you were having some trouble with something very specific, you'd be able to find exactly what you needed really quickly, which is fantastic. It was like a bit of a dictionary. It was not something that you would just read through. It was a resource that you would go back to again and again. That's how it felt. Very nicely organized. I really liked the guest spells in there from different cultures, and that was really interesting. I really appreciated those and how he would bring like other people to talk about different things. They were lovely, really nicely written out. I felt that it could have been more inclusive. It's not going to be a book for everyone, and it was very thorny in certain aspects. So I would keep that in mind going through it. He's very obviously anti-curse. So if you have more traditional ways of working, you might want to either skip over those chapters or skip this one altogether, which is a shame. I really feel like there could be a more inclusive way, maybe another edition, because it's a fantastic resource. It's really, really lovely.
Thank you. And for our listeners, in the description box below this video, we will be linking Modern Occultist News' website, where you will be able to read Melissa's review of the book as well. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Again, description box below this video, we have our magazine, Modern Occultist. On our website, you will be able to read our current and previous issues as well. We also launched Occult Reads, where you can see all of the book reviews from all of our affiliate partners, Modern Occultist News, as I mentioned, and we also have our socials, YouTube, of course, as you can see, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Thank you so much again, Melissa, for agreeing to this interview. And everyone, thank you for listening, and everyone should have a nice day.